Ragtime is the largest cast ever. I think there's like 26 people in the cast.
I think it's gotten up to 29.
29 now.
29
well,
now.
the show is, and the 200th production at the Opera House.
And the show's director, Christopher Betts, is here in person to tell us all about this amazing revival. Thank you so much for taking some time out to be here.
Absolutely. We actually have rehearsal today. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, we'll hurry up so you can get back.
You know, scheduling is a big part of directing, so we have the time.
Why did you take on this role? Because you originally, we heard you were a little hesitant to take it on.
You know, it's a story that is very accurate and that is a little bit brutal in its rendering of what life was like at the turn of the century for African American folks. So I'm a very joyful person.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I just wrestled with, why did this need to be on stage now? And I think that it was more so waiting for a moment for a strong why now, so that it was making a statement rather than just existing in like black dread or black trauma, which, you know, we've seen in the entertainment industry has been something that has been capitalized upon. But, you know, with the election and with, you know, the rise of Black Lives Matter, this is absolutely an extremely important story to be told right now. So I wanted the strongest why now possible, so I could make sure that I was telling the story from a place that would be purposeful and not capitalist.
Let's talk about the language in the show. It is derogatory, it is hurtful, but it seems like there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. What was the decision in keeping the original language there?
So the decision in keeping the original language is that I really wanted to do what the text was, and I didn't want to let the audience off the hook. I feel that Goodspeed's audience is actually a very progressive audience and a very smart audience. I've seen a bunch of shows at Goodspeed. So I was like, you know, let's go for it and present the material as is. You know, also the music is so gorgeous that what we found as a creative team is that sometimes your memory of the musical is how beautiful the music is, and what can get lost a little bit is like just how much of a tragedy the story is. So we definitely didn't want to lean into the music and lean away from the tragedy. We wanted to tell the truth and give an authentic rendering. So it was totally important to make sure that those moments of great lows were really low, so that the moments that were really high could also be really high.
I've never seen the show. I apologize, but I'm going to run and tell us, give us a brief synopsis of the storyline.
So it's a story about three families at the turn of the century: a New Rochelle family, an Eastern European population, which is spearheaded by Tate, who is a Jewish person immigrating from Latvia, and Harlem, which is the African American population, and how their stories come together when they're all trying to pursue this American dream. They all have different relationships to class, different relationships to privilege, different relationship to hard work, and you know, over the course of it, the story spans about 13 to 14 years. We see how those dreams fade, how those dreams change, and we see how sometimes people's dreams die, and what they are left to reconcile with when that happens.
What has the reception been like from the audience so far at the Goodspeed?
They love it, which makes me happy. Yeah, people are really enjoying it. They're saying some folks are saying it's one of their favorite shows that the Goodspeed has done. Some folks are saying it's their favorite show that the Goodspeed has done. We've been getting really vocal, positive feedback. You know, there's usually not a dry eye in the audience. It's a heavy one. But I tried to balance that. There's a lot of joyful, fun moments that we tried to really pull the threads on to make sure that it wasn't, you know, just too in your face. So I feel that we kept it honest but nuanced, and we found as every single moment of joy that we could.
You're a very young director.
Oh, yes.
Does that work to your advantage, or does that work to your disadvantage, directing 29 people?
Yeah, I think it works to my advantage in many ways. I'm also a professor at NYU, and the ways in which I've learned that they love having a younger professor because they can relate to them. There's a lot of actors who are of a younger age. You know, we have a very diverse cast, and, you know, bringing in a lot of the new guard of how theater is made. You know, we're looking at a huge overhaul of, you know, some very toxic practices of just in the entertainment industry in general. So, you know, having someone who is not of that experience, and having someone who you don't have to teach away from those habits, but is, you know, was trained in the new, healthier, and more sustainable way of making theater that we have, I think works of benefit. You know, I've lived all over. I've lived in I lived in Africa for a year. I grew up in Southside Chicago. I went to NYU. Then I went to Yale. So I've met almost every different type of person that there is.
Yeah.
So relating to people has never been difficult for me because my life has always thrown me into very diverse circumstances of human life. So I love relating to folks, and I don't treat anyone, whether we have very small children in the show, and we have folks who play more senior folks in the story, and I treat everyone, I try to, at least. Maybe I'm a little bit nicer to the kids. Treat everyone the same.
All right, what is a big takeaway that you want audiences who come see Ragtime to walk away with when they leave the doors of the Goodspeed?
Oh, wow. I want audiences to realize that as far as we've come, we have so much further to go, and that cycles can be very insidious, and cycles and patterns, they mean things, and as much as we want to go into the future, as much as we want to go into the next thing, we have to acknowledge where we've gone to know where we're going so that we don't make the same mistakes. So I hope that, while it's historical fiction, that people see the themes that haven't aged gracefully, and people see the themes that that we're still up against nowadays, especially in the current social or political climate that we're living under.
One more quick question coming off of that amazing answer. Do you feel that more shows, more musicals should stay to the original context like you're doing with Ragtime?
I was always taught that that things are always viewed through the lens in which they are being viewed, which is to use the word view twice, but you're always seeing it through the lens of 2025, or if we did it in 2026, it would be slightly different. So I think that honoring the material, unless you have like a big, bold statement, right, is always best. I don't like to, because the authors wrote it in response to something, but I do think that it's very important to know that, like, what does this mean in 2025 as opposed to 2024, as opposed to 2026, which is why, when initially the story was brought to me, I was like, great story, amazing. And it didn't have the same meaning in that year as it did the year that we decided to move forward for. I think it was proposed to me in 2021, and what it means now as opposed to 2021 is totally different.
We have to let you go, but the Goodspeed Opera House runs through June 15th. Tickets are selling out. Go to goodspeed.org. Christopher Betts, thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
So great to see you.
We have chills. Like, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, happy to have you.
Thanks.
All right, appreciate it.